Talion flew through the air wildly, whipping in every direction, spinning about, the wind rushing past. Talion hadn't expected to be thrown, especially the distance he has been, as he rushed through the air, and the fear of what might happen to him when he lands ran through his mind. All Talion could do to fight it was try to gain some sort of bearing, but it seemed the harder he tried, the more the flailing, the spinning in all directions seemed to make him feel powerless. What was going to happen to him, he thought, as he barreled through the air, beginning to descend towards the earth. He's never fallen from this high. Is he going to die? He thought to himself. In a panic, he did the only thing that he could think of doing. He curled himself into the fetal position, tucking in his legs, wrapping his tail around them, putting his hands over the top of his head, and just hoping that he could make it. For him, the seconds seemed to tick by like hours as he could hear the wind rushing. But finally, he hit the ground. The impact was colossal. As he struck, huge chunks of stone and earth pulled from the ground around him, sending dust and debris into the air. Talion landed back first. It felt like having a house dropped on him. He swore he could almost hear his bones rattle on the impact. After striking, Talion uncurled from his clenched fetal position, his body racked with pain. The wind had been knocked right out of him. As he tried gasping for air, he began to cough wildly, feeling as if he couldn't breathe. He managed to roll over, which surprised even him in the amount of pain he was in. And as he coughed, he noticed small amounts of blood beginning to spray onto the ground beneath him, as he did his best to fight for what air he could get. At that moment, everything hurt. He finally managed to catch his breath and began to try to pull himself to his feet, looking around to see that the impact had carved about a 5-foot crater into the ground. To be honest, Talion was shocked that he was alive at all. I mean, he knew he was durable, but he didn't understand how durable. No way any normal human being could survive something like that. The only reason he's alive is because of what he is, he thought to himself, as he struggled his way to his feet, his legs shaking, struggling to carry the weight of his body as he tried to fight his way through the pain. Well, what do you know? You are good for something. At least you can take a hit well, he heard announced from nearby, looking over to see himself again, standing at the edge of the crater. I mean, I don't think it's gonna save anybody, but you might make a pretty effective punching bag. But who are we kidding? You don't really want to save anyone, unless it's you. I would know after all. You again? Why won't you leave me alone? Talion replied to the doppelganger, struggling to crawl his way out of the hole. He could still use his strength, which made it easier to dig his nails into the dirt, pull himself up. But his arms and legs seemed shaky, as if they didn't want to cooperate with whatever he was telling them to do. It made crawling out difficult. Is this what it's like to be in pain? Are all fights like this? He thought to himself, as he finally cleared the crater. Ugh, Talion sighed to himself. I thought he said that sirens were weak. How can he be doing all of this? With illusions. Even if they can be physical, how can they have that kind of strength? It doesn't make any sense, Talion said, wrapping his arm around his ribs, kneeling over, finding it hard to stand straight up. You know what the biggest shame about you is? Talion's doppelganger said, beginning to make another one of his speeches. It's that you're so weak. I mean, really, with all of the talents and abilities and strengths that you possess, you're still just so weak. You claim that you want to protect people, and yet you lack the resolve to fight when you need to, unless there's no other choice. Otherwise, you just run. Shut up already, Talion replied to the doppelganger. You're wrong. I've been fighting. I fought off a bunch of those things. Those nightmare creatures. Oh, goody for you. You fought off a couple small illusions. It didn't really amount to anything. And you only really fought them because you knew you could win. You fought the small ones. The ones that seemed like they were vulnerable. The ones you could easily tell that you could damage. But every single time, the moment it looks like hurting them in any simple way isn't a possibility, you just give up and start running. I suppose there's nothing wrong with it. Survival instincts are good, you know. But did you ever think to bother why you run away? Why you don't look for a new angle on the situation? Try to find a way to win, even if it seems like you can't beat them. The truth is, it's because it's too difficult. It's easier just to run away. Less harmful to you. Fighting, even when the odds seem stacked against you, is something that people with bravery, courage, and actual strength do. But you're just a cowardly little monster who'll only fight when all the odds seem in his advantage. That's why you're gonna leave him to die, you know. Your mom and your grandmother. Just like with all those monsters. The moment it seems like you can't win, you're gonna run. Regardless of who dies, regardless of who suffers. Because you don't have the strength to fight through it. And you don't really care enough to try. You say you love them, but as I've said before, I don't really think you do. No, you're just used to having them. It's convenient to keep the things the same. But when all the chips fall down, you're gonna leave them alone in their pain, in their suffering. Just like you left your real mother, all alone, buried in the agony of a lost child. A lost child that doesn't even want to come back to her. Because you're cruel, Talion. You're a cruel, selfish little creature. You should just accept it. It would make your life so much easier. Not having to deal with these fake little emotions that you pretend you have. Like love and compassion. Understanding. They're all just weights slowing you down. Just accept that you're a selfish, self-centered monster. Let go of it all, and you can be free. Don't care about anyone, and it won't hurt when you leave them high and dry, which seems to be your destiny, Talion. To leave everyone that loves you high and dry, bathed in agony over the loss, or gargling on their own blood because you left them to die. Shut up, Talion shouted at the doppelganger. You don't know me. You're not me. That's not who I am, he said, once again the tears starting to run from his eyes. And then, once again, Talion heard it. That immense roar billowing out, echoing out of the forest, as Talion looked, trying to find the source. Tell if it was gaining ground on him, if it was almost here. He looked into the woods, but was surprised when his eyes began to be drawn upwards, as what seemed like a massive pillar of thick white fog began to shoot into the sky, arcing through the air like a ball of smoke thrown from a ballista, hurtling in his direction. As it started to grow closer, Talon began to see the form hidden in that pillar of fog, streaking through the air in his direction. A massive, animal-like head, beaming yellow eyes, shooting out light like sunlight, opened its mouth as it flew towards them, letting out another one of those deafening roars that seemed to rattle the air itself. What looked like wings sprouted from its form as it glided in at a rapid pace. "Well, what are you waiting for?" the doppelganger said as it hurtled in their direction. "Run. Run away, little Talion. You don't have any other option, right? You're the one who told me to run in the first place." "Yeah, but you didn't have to listen to me. Once again, I'm just the angel on your shoulder. I may have given you the advice, but you're the one who decided to take it, because that's what you wanted to do. The advice hasn't changed. It's still in your nature. Run, Talion," the doppelganger said, glaring at him, standing there, calm, composed, with a focused expression, telling him to run as the imminent danger barreled ever closer, and he remained unmoving.